Israel launching its largest bombing campaign in nearly 20 years, striking Hezbollah as the Israeli defense minister says they've eliminated tens of thousands of their weapons. All of this as Israel warns the people of Lebanon to get out of harm's way. And we begin in the Middle East, where Israel has launched a major assault on Hezbollah in Lebanon called Operation Northern Arrows. It's designed to allow tens of thousands of Israelis to return to their homes in the north after they were forced to leave because of months of Hezbollah rocket attacks. As CBN's Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, it's Israel's biggest bombing campaign since the 2006 second war with Lebanon.
Israeli warplanes launched more than 1,600 strikes to destroy Hezbollah rocket launchers, drones, and UAVs inside southern Lebanon and the Beqaa Valley.
Essentially, we're targeting combat infrastructure that Hezbollah has been building for the past 20 years.
Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says they've taken out tens of thousands of weapons in Hezbollah's arsenal. Many of the weapons are in homes and buildings in civilian-populated areas. Multiple videos of the strikes showed secondary explosions igniting rockets, and the IDF released photos of Hezbollah rockets inside Lebanese homes. The strikes follow recent targeted attacks that decimated Hezbollah's top military leadership.
Over the course of 1 week, we can say that in many ways, Nasrallah remains alone at the top.
Nearly 500 died in Monday's wave, and some 2,000 were injured, many of them Hezbollah fighters. The IDF issued warnings to Lebanese civilians to get out of harm's way.
However, even as we called on civilians to move away from danger, we saw that Hezbollah operatives were doing the opposite and acted to prevent civilian moving safety.
Hezbollah fired hundreds of rockets as far south as Haifa, sending Israeli civilians to bomb shelters. While some rockets landed, most were intercepted by the Iron Dome. In Lebanon, thousands clogged the roads north in an exodus to escape the fighting. In a message to the Lebanese people, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel is not at war with Lebanon, but Hezbollah.
For too long, Hezbollah has been using you as human shields. It placed rockets in your living rooms and missiles in your garage. Those rockets and missiles are aimed directly at our cities, directly at our citizens. To defend our people against Hezbollah strikes, we must take out those weapons. Now, starting this morning, the IDF has warned you to get out of harm's way. I urge you, take this warning seriously. Don't let Hezbollah endanger your lives and the lives of your loved ones.
Highway. As you can see, people leaving southern Lebanon. There is a mass exodus. You look to your right, you look to your left, smoke. These are Israeli airstrikes.
Israel has launched a barrage of airstrikes across Lebanon, and they've killed more than 490 people and hurt more than 1,000 others. This was the deadliest day of conflict in Lebanon since 2006.
Fearing an outbreak of a larger regional conflict, the Pentagon says it will send additional U.S. troops to the Middle East. Israel says its warplanes struck 1,300 Hezbollah targets, attacking what it says are caches of weapons, including rockets and drones. The IDF claims the weapons are inside residential buildings embedded among civilians. Lebanon's health ministry says 90 women and children were among those killed.
Say Israeli strikes killed nearly 500 people today, including nearly 36 children, and left more than 1,600 wounded.
This is a dramatic escalation. Will this spill into a full-on regional war, a full-on ground war? I think that depends on what Hezbollah does over the next several days. But we're certainly seeing an escalation here, and a war between Hezbollah and Israel is underway, without a doubt.
Understand that the people backing Hezbollah are in fact the Iranians. So this is a fight between good and evil, and between Israel and Iran.
A Hezbollah official says the militant group has entered a new stage of open-ended warfare against Israel.
Israel and Hezbollah are old enemies. Tonight they're in a new war, and the people of Lebanon are caught in the middle.
The strikes came in waves. One after another.
You can see smoke billowing into the air from multiple blasts. The Israeli military warning residents to immediately evacuate homes and other buildings where they say Hezbollah weapons are located.
Israel accuses Hezbollah of storing weaponry in neighborhoods and deliberately endangering civilians.
Now, starting this morning, the IDF has warned you to get out of harm's way. I urge you, take this warning seriously. Don't let Hezbollah endanger your lives and the lives of your loved ones. Don't let Hezbollah endanger Lebanon. Please, get out of harm's way now.
Southern Lebanon awoke to this. It looks like all-out war.
A special state of emergency has just been declared in Israel after days of intense fighting.
This follows an Israeli strike in southern Beirut Friday, which killed a top Hezbollah commander.
In this residential neighborhood in northern Israel, the peace is fleeting.
Hezbollah firing war rockets into Israel after already launching more than 150 over the weekend.
When we heard the explosions, I was a bit fearful, more than usual. We are used to it, but it seems really serious this time.
Fears of a wider war in the region now growing. The Pentagon says the U.S. is sending a small number of additional U.S. military personnel in light of the increased tension.
Tactically, this is a move upwards. This is an escalation of that conflict, which is regional and could become global. So really, this is a conflict with Iran.
It's interesting that Hassan Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, today was taunting Israel to invade. Go ahead, invade, because he knows that in many ways that would be a trap.
I think we're already in a wider war, and we have already been in a wider war for a year. There have been attempts to contain it. But as David was saying, once you start a war, and once you start exchanging fire with a group like Hezbollah, where does it end? Iran has already warned of, quote, dangerous consequences for what it called Israel's adventurism into Lebanon. Plus, as you mentioned, the West Bank, where there is a very large and growing problem with the Palestinians who are increasingly leaning toward Hamas, who feel that the settlers in that part of the country are taking advantage of this situation to steal Palestinian land. You have Iran that has attacked Israel. This could escalate very quickly into many fronts.
Derek, this conflict will certainly be a major topic at the UN General Assembly this week.
Absolutely. And on Thursday, I can tell you that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to speak here in New York. President Biden's scheduled to be here on Tuesday. The speech is happening at a precarious moment.
Israel's Army Chief of Staff says it's targeting combat infrastructure that Hezbollah has been building for the past 20 years and preparing for the next phases. But the big question is, those next phases will include a ground invasion.
Keep your head up. Jesus is coming back. Jesus is coming back. No, don't you give up. No. Jesus is coming back. Jesus is coming back. And when the world